Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying and to your Thursday dose of rallying chit chat. Today I'm going to talk to you about dashboards among other things, but we'll get to that. I just wanted to start this video by saying thank you to all of those who've commented on the previous video where I introduced my Escort F2 kit car project. Lots of you giving me best wishes and saying you're excited to see that come together, so thank you very much. I appreciate your support. It's going to be a long road, but hopefully we will get there, so I will try and bring you some more updates on that as soon as possible. However, let's talk about dashboards. And why are we talking about dashboards, I hear you ask, or as you click off this video potentially. I want to talk about something that was inspired by watching some other rally videos and a little bit of an online conversation I had yesterday. So I watched a couple of videos, or rewatched a couple of videos from last year on the Haggerty channel by Henry Catchpole, who is a lovely man, and as well as driving supercars for the media, he is also very much a rally man. So last year he did a couple of videos. One was driving the Maturo Group A Lancia Delta and also driving a 2001 Ford Focus RS WRC. So there was two common themes through these videos, and in both of them he made a comment about one of the things he loved about both cars was how there were echoes of the road car carried over into both of them. So if you look inside a Group A Delta, for example, you will see that the door panels are taken straight from the road car, so they still have the standard trim, with the stripes on it. And he also said that one of the things that he loved about the Focus was that it still felt like a Focus, so he drove it back to back with a Focus RS road car. And he said he loved that there was echoes of the road car when you got back into the rally car, so the shape of the dashboard and the door handles and things. And that got me thinking about the state of things right now, because if you have watched videos in the past, you will know that I am no fan of the Rally 1 concept. I think it's wildly out of step with the kind of DNA of rallying. I don't have high hopes for the next set of regulations either. And I don't want to get back into that too much, but it just got me thinking about how much carryover should there be. I think there's this ongoing debate among rally fans, isn't there, about what we should be doing in terms of technical regulations. A lot of people say that we should go back to something more like Group A and have cars that are very much based on something that you can actually buy, on a performance road car. And while I understand that, I unfortunately think it's very unlikely, because those performance road cars don't really exist anymore in the way that they did. And I think with the industry going the way it is and going down this electric rabbit hole, having cars that we can kind of directly convert into rally cars is unfortunately going to become more and more difficult. But it does beg a question, doesn't it? Because if you look at other formula, so if you look at early world rally cars like that Focus that Henry drove, and like subsequent cars as well, there was still a little bit of DNA, was there? And I think the question is how much DNA do we actually need? And I thought the dashboard thing was a really interesting one. So by coincidence, Jerro Quinn, who was a Ford performance manager, he had also commented on the viability of the current regulations in terms of relevance for selling road cars and marketing. And I mentioned my little dashboard question, and it prompted an interesting response from him. So Gerard said that one of the things that he had insisted on when the original Fiesta RS WRC came along in 2011, that there were certain elements of the road car that were carried over into the rally car. So he said the shape of the dashboard, the design in the rear light clusters, and also the pattern in the underbonnet area. There was a kind of hex pattern in the strengthening ribs under the bonnet, and he said those features had to be carried over into the WRC car because they were part of the road car's identity. And I think it's fascinating, isn't it? So even when we move to a position where the cars are far removed from their road-going cousins, we're taking a two-wheel drive hatchback and we're converting it to four-wheel drive, so we're changing all of the floor pan and all of the suspension mounting points. Having those key just visual identifiers, it struck me how much I'd underestimated how important they were in a way, And another thing that look back on is watching touring cars as a kid, the British Touring Car Championship. So when I was watching it, it was Super Touring. And again, you know, those cars were far removed from a road car. They might have looked a bit like one on the outside, but, you know, underneath, suspension and everything was completely different. You know, if you look at how the engines were mounted, they were super low down and far back. You know, they were nothing like a road car, but critically, they looked like a road car, didn't they? On the outside, even once they started to add a little bit of aerodynamics, they looked like a road car. The lights were the same and things looked the same. And, you know, when you had the onboard footage, you were looking at Anthony Reid or, you know, Rickard Rydell, whoever it was. They were driving a Nissan Primera or a Volvo S40. You could see that, and it was the dashboard, wasn't it? It was the dashboard that gave you that clue. It looked like a road car inside, even though it was stripped out. You could see the DNA of that road car was still there. And I think that is probably the thing that we don't have anymore, isn't it? If you look at an onboard shot, and I said this to Gerard yesterday, if you watch the onboards now, it's almost difficult to tell the difference between the cars, isn't it? You know, the dash is just this kind of very simple black, dark grey, kind of nothing. There's not really any distinguishing features. And I think if you go back a generation to the previous World Rally cars, you could be on board in the Fiesta and it still had echoes of the Fiesta dash. You know, it was changed a little bit, but there was still kind of recognizable Fiesta in there. And it just made me think, you know, maybe this is an area where we've just gone a bit too far, and I can complain about the chassis and the space frames and all that stuff. And I still think that matters, but perhaps to the more casual viewer, that isn't as important as retaining those visual cues. So, you know, maybe if the Rally 1 cars had a dashboard that looked like the road car, or the proportions were a little bit more like the road car, you know, when we have these next generation cars, maybe the scaling thing isn't so important as long as you retain those key features. I don't know. It's a really interesting question. It just made me think. It made me think I'm going to ask you a question. So I want to finish with a question. What do you think are the important elements of a car that need to be carried into the road car? You know, does it have to be the body shell? Or is it just key visual things? Is it the dashboard? Is it the door cards like it was in the Lancia? You know, is it the rear lights that Gerard said about on the Fiesta? Even that under bonnet, you know, webbing, is that the thing? You know, is it the cam cover on the engine? What do you think is the important thing? You know, what do you think retains the identity? So I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on that. I just thought it was a random thing that was worthy of mention. You might have clicked off this video already, but I don't know, I find dashboards interesting. So let me know what you think in the comments. As always, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Follow me over on socials, and I will see you again in the next one.